July 23rd, 2015 was like any other Thursday night.
I was going to a movie with my friend.
Until 7:27 p.m.
So about 20 minutes in, it's a train wreck. We heard one loud bang, and I don't think you ever think it's a gun.
911, airport, the grand stage.
More shots fired out, and finally I looked back a little bit, and the shooter was in my row. I could see the flashes of light. So at that point, you know it's real.
22-year-old Emily Mann was one of 24 people in the theater that night at the Grand 16 in Lafayette.
12 people got shot. So the fact that I didn't, you can say all you want. It's amazing you didn't, but it really is.
Mann managed to escape the theater physically unharmed.
I actually live right around the corner, so I went home. And you leave this situation and you think it's over. You're home. And of course, it's never that simple.
Emotionally and mentally, she was different.
I knew right then my whole life was changing.
While the news focused around the shooter and the late victims, Mann struggled to put her life back together.
I think you want this handbook on how to get back to normal, but a new normal, a normal that understands what you went through, and there isn't one.
Like many other mass shooting survivors, initially she struggled in her relationships with friends and even with her mother.
It took a little while for her to realize the seriousness of the situation because she had the advantage of seeing me first. So we've almost had a disconnect. My whole family, because their immediate response was, okay, but you're okay. And mine was like, well, I wasn't.
The shooting affected her in more ways than she even realized.
I've never really liked crowds, but that's something I've struggled with, is strangers, crowds. A man walks in to a store by himself, to a restaurant by himself, and I'm just on edge. And it was a private struggle because I don't want other people to think that way. It's toxic.
Anytime you have a traumatic event, whether it's sexual abuse, whether it's, being emotionally abused or witnessing a trauma like a gun shooting, right? And knowing that it could have been you and it wasn't you, it makes you want to avoid the situation. I would say a good percentage of people, when they go through a serious trauma, should seek out at least short-term trauma-based therapy.
I did see a grief counselor after. I just wanted a moment with someone who didn't know me before. When people love you, they want so badly for you to be who you were before, and it can force you to put pressure on yourself to speed up the healing process, and you can't put band-aids on things that need understanding and need time.
In the 8 months since the shooting, Mann says she has grown to understand and accept this new part of her story.
For me, it was just a memory that I'm gonna have.
And despite the initial difficulty, she has even returned to the Grand 16 and other movie theaters.
I remember sitting in the movie theater and you could just see her eyes going across the theater. And what I thought that was great about that is seeing her I remember just looking at her and being like, she's gonna be fine.
As for the shooter,
I don't say his name. I don't even think he did it for publicity. I think he was sick. He had a past of certain violent offenses, but they weren't the right violent offenses to not get a gun. There are methods set up to prevent certain people from getting guns, but I think the root is a lack of mental health care. I think he was sick, and I think that's why I've never had the anger.
Mann says she's glad she received help for her distress, and she hopes that care can be provided for people like the shooter to prevent situations like this one from happening again. Brooke Hotard, Tiger TV.